Hey guys, Lady Lee here from ladyleeshome.com, and today I'm actually at the field, at the farm, and I want to take you for a quick walk to show you kind of a little bit of an update on the garlic and the onions that we planted here back in the fall. We're in March now, approaching the middle of March, so everything is starting to wake up. I did do a video about setting up this weed barrier and planting the garlic and onions in it. So I kind of wanted to give you an update and show you how this progresses. A lot of people don't know that onions and garlic we actually can plant in the fall and let them just seed. They were uncovered just like that, like they are behind me. They can seed in the cold weather. They're very hardy, even though you'll see a little bit of frost damage, but not too much during the winter. They just develop a really good root system, and then once spring comes and the weather starts warming up a little bit, they wake up to life and they start growing. And this is a really good way to make sure that they had enough time to establish a good root system. So now when it's starting to warm, they will just take off really quickly, and by June or July, when it's time to harvest, you'll have big bulbs of onions or garlic, and it's the best way to grow these crops. So I wanted to take you on a little walk and show you what else we got here. There are a few other things that I'm kind of in the process of doing, so I'll give you a little bit of update about that. If you're new to this channel or to the blog or to me in general, I actually have two properties. I live across the street on half an acre, and a lot of my vegetable growing is done right there around the house. You really don't need so much land to grow a lot of vegetables. I mean, I'm growing not just for us, also to take to the market, and just the space that I have around the house is more than enough, and I'm not even using all of it. The reason that I have a few crops here is, first, I really like being here and just spending time here. And second, there are crops that is easier for me to grow in longer, more organized market kind of beds. So these stuff I bring over here. Now I do have a few limitations here. I don't have any watering going on here. For onions and garlic, it's just fine because they don't need a lot of water. They actually like pretty dry soil, and they rot if there is too much water in the soil. I have really good drainage here, and the beds are a little raised, so the water does not stay around the bulbs, and this way they don't rot. So onions and garlic, with the amount of rain that we have here in North Carolina, they really don't need much more than the rain. They don't need more for me to water them. Other things that I will plant here, and I'll show you, I'm just about to open another garden plot. We'll see. I'm thinking about it as a partnership with God kind of thing. You know, He'll have to provide the rain and I'll do all the rest. And I think He really did get the easy part of the stick, but we'll see if He's going to provide that. So hopefully that will work. I do plan on digging a well here at some point, but right now it's just me playing around and seeing what works and what doesn't work for me. There's no one way to garden. There are a billion different ways, and a lot depends on what you like to do, how you like to do it. For me, it depends on my kind of market, because I do take things to the market too, but I don't have a big market that I can sell 50 bags of salad greens. There's just not enough people in this little town to buy that. So I do have to diversify and maybe work a little different according to what fits here and what fits me. So let's go on a little walk and see what's going on here. Aside from the onions and garlic, we also have asparagus. So I'm waiting for it to pop out of the of the soil, and that's usually the first thing that I harvest in the spring, aside from salad greens. So it's not really here yet, but it's coming. Okay, so we have 5 beds here. They're about 20-inch wide, this beds, and you can see the further one and half of the one next to it is not planted yet. And what I'm gonna do is probably beets to complete where these onions are. I'll complete this bed with beets probably, and then the other one is going to have beans in it. And this is all covered with the weed fabric. Again, I did do weed barrier. I did do video about setting this up, so I will link to it, and if you want to see how I did that, then you can go and watch that video. So you see the onions are doing really good. There is a little bit of frost damage on the tip of them. You can see the brown spots, but it's really not that bad, and they recover pretty good, and they're taking off, and they're doing really well. I cannot remember the number of onions I have here, but these beds are about 30 feet long, and I have 4 rows of onions, so a lot of onions in here. Okay, this is the asparagus bed, which I need to weed. This is the downside of using straw mulch. I love straw mulch because it decomposes really fast. It keeps the soil really moist. I don't have to do a lot of watering at all. And it really works well here in the farm because I don't have, like I said before, I don't have a well here or a watering system here. The asparagus will just poke out of the straw, and we'll start seeing them soon, and probably after this video I'll just take a moment and weed this bed. It's not taking too long, probably like half an hour and I'll be done. It's really easy to pull weeds from under straw because the soil is so soft. All right, here are the garlic. They are also doing really good. A little bit of brown on the tip, but nothing that will stop them from growing. They did really good here during the winter, and I got about 3 rows in a 20-inch bed. Now I do want to point out something. You can see that in this row, which was the first row that I did, I tried to cut circles again, and it's all in the other video of how I set it up. But I wanted to take a moment and just mention that after having this here for a few months, I can say for sure that these circles are not my favorite. So instead, I saw a lot of farmers doing these circles, so that's why I tried to do them too, but they really don't work very good for me because there's still a lot of or relatively a lot of weeds that come up around the garlic, and I just don't like it. If I'm using a weed barrier, I pretty much wanted to eliminate the need for me to weed at all, or almost at all. So I did spend some time weeding this, and that's why it's clean, but it did need a little bit of work of weeding. Now, the other option, and what I like more, is what I did here with the onions, and I just pretty much cut an X in the fabric, and then I planted the onion set right in there, and that works so much better because the flaps just cover the soil completely all the way around the plant, and you can see that there might be a little tiny weed here and there, but it's really not that bad. And it took me about 5 minutes to just go over this bed and clean it up just a little bit. And I think that from now on, if I'm using the weed barrier, I will definitely just cut an X and then use that opening to plant and not do the circle, which was actually also much harder. So if you're using a weed barrier, that's what I think that works best, at least for me, that works best. Okay, so this is a new garden area that I am going to start. Shayla, can you move? Thank you. What I did here is I just put a tarp over all of it. It's called a silage tarp, and I bought that from Farmer's Friend. I will link to it below. What it does basically, it's a heavy-duty plastic tarp thingy, and it cooks the weeds. So I put it over here, and I will keep it here during the summer. I'm not in a hurry to open this garden space because there's just so much that I can do. So this is probably going to be ready to work in fall when the weather is nice and cool again, and I can work on setting up probably 5 30-inch beds. I think that's what I calculated, but we'll see as we go. I put a bunch of bricks on it, nothing too fancy and not fashionable at all, but it works, and hopefully it will keep it from flying. So we'll talk more about this in a minute, but I just wanted to show you this tarp, and they have all different sizes. So again, I'll link to it below. Okay, you guys, so let's just take a moment to talk about that new garden area over there. Again, the idea is to use that tarp, it's called a silage tarp, to basically cook the weeds. It takes some time. It's faster during the summer when the sun is really hot, and it's slower during the winter when the sun is not so very hot, which makes sense, right? But it takes some time. So I'm not in a hurry here, so my plan is to just keep it until the fall, although I have been known to just get up in the morning one day and decide that I want to go dig in the field, and that's fine, you know, that's fine too, but I'm really not in a hurry to open another garden plot over there. I think I have more than I can handle right now. So we're just going slow here because I do not like to feel like I'm losing control and the weeds are taking over. I hate that feeling. Call me control freak or whatever else you want, but I need my vegetable garden in neat and organized rows without a lot of weeds, and everything should behave. So I'm not in a hurry to open that plot, and even when I do, I might still keep half of it covered with the tarp and just work on 1 or 2 beds at the time. So the idea is that after the weeds under it are cooked, then you can uncover it and build your beds. And I like Josh Satin. He does a really good job explaining and showing on YouTube how to build new beds for a market garden, and I'll link to him below. And what he does is basically, you know, what a lot of other people do, and just use cardboard, and then on top of the cardboard you put compost, and you create your beds from the compost. It's kind of getting a new name now, to where people start to call it the compost mulching system or whatever it is, where you basically use the compost as your mulch because, you know, there's no seeds in it or whatever, and you suppress seeds this way. So you put the cardboard on top of the soil, and then you put the compost on top of the cardboard and you water the cardboard really well, and then even roots vegetables or whatever can penetrate through it and grow, and it decomposes pretty fast. I might do that, but I'm not sure because I'm allergic to cardboard. It makes my skin itchy, it makes my eyes itchy, it makes me sneeze like a crazy person. So I'm not too excited about using cardboard. So we'll see. Might just do the old-fashioned, rake the weeds, the old weeds away, and maybe I'll put some more compost in there. Maybe I won't, because the soil under there is really good. About 3 or 4 years ago, I had a Back to Eden garden in that spot. And a Back to Eden garden is a garden that is covered in wood chips. I have to say that I did not like it too much, because the wood chips, when they're fresh, they take up all the nitrogen from the soil, and my vegetables did not grow very well. But if you let those wood chips sit for a year and 2 and 3 and 4 years, then they become compost, really. So that whole place over there should have really good soil, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that once I'm uncovering it, I can just kind of rake the beds into shape and then plant fall crops. So we'll see what happens. I will keep you updated on that. I'm really excited to start and harvest asparagus very soon here. And then, of course, onions and garlics are coming in June and July. And I still have to fence all of this area. I have Premier One chicken electric fencing kind of thing, the white net that I think that I'll use around, if it's long enough. I think that it will cover the area that I need it to cover. So that's another something that I have to do, because the deer and the bunnies, the rabbits, whatever, they won't eat the garlic and the onion, but they will definitely come for the beet greens and the beans when I put them in. So before I do that, I have to make sure that I fence this area. And since I don't want to do any permanent kind of fence, I think the electric chicken fence will work pretty well here. So I'll keep you updated. Please subscribe and like if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.